Hi everybody, it's Bella Jade Michaels and I'm really glad that you joined me today. Today we're going to be speaking about something a lot more intimate, and I want to take you on this journey with me because I feel this is extremely important. I am meeting so many women, and I work mostly with women, and we'll get into that in a minute, but I am meeting so many women every single day that feel completely lost, confused, and frustrated, feeling like they are on a perpetual cycle of just nothing but the same thing, and no matter what they're doing, though they try to maybe learn new crafts, change jobs, change relationships, doing all of these things, it's like things get better for a little while, and then they fall right back into this trap of this cycle. And I'm meeting so many women that feel so stuck and frustrated because they don't know the next step to take. And oftentimes, they go out and they spend a lot of money going to coaches that do just partial. They only fragments of what they need. And while that stuff is really good and incredibly powerful and potent, they're left with this feeling that, well, I got all of this accomplished and I got to this point, but I didn't know what to do beyond that. And then they found themselves spending even more money and more time going to try to find the answers to the purpose by which they're here. Because so many of us women don't even know anymore. And I want to share something with you that is very intimate. Again, I want to say that again. But there is a connection between you and I. Because we found each other here in this space. And what I want to know at this point is how many of you out there are feeling, without a shadow of a doubt, that there's a shift and there's been some major change that for whatever reason, it has called you out right now. Like 10 years ago, you felt that you could still go and identify what was wrong in your situations, wondering, what life was for. And you could somewhat kind of, to some degree, understand it to a point by which the paradigm instructs, of course. But it never hit it on the head. See, over the course of the last 13 years of my life, I'm going to say that probably could be stretched a little bit, but I know 13 years for sure, I have been on a massive spiritual accelerated journey. That means that I have literally gone and learned from more than one, more than two, more than three spiritual teachers because there was a calling to move me toward each one of them. What I learned from each one of them couldn't be taught to me by one. I needed a variety. And a lot of you out there are going to be the same. And I want to let you know that if you are on the path and you do have a spiritual teacher and you find a calling to go and investigate another one, that is higher power, just saying, hey, you need to know a little bit more, or have a variation of a story told to you so it makes sense. Okay? So I began on this journey 13 years ago after I lost my son. Me and my husband had just gotten married. We were newlyweds, and we were extremely excited we were going to have a boy. And during the course of the pregnancy, I began to have problems. I was seeing a midwife. Then I went to go see another doctor, and I was having some trouble and complications about whether or not I could be seen for this, that, and the other. I got so stressed because I couldn't get the care that I needed. I felt like I really needed, and things were getting glazed over. 2 days before his birthday, he passed away in my womb with a hearty kick. Called my midwife right away, and she told me to get in the bath, to relax, see if I could get the contractions to go down. And things quieted a bit, but I didn't feel it moving. So I rushed in the next day, and they put the little Doppler scan on my belly, and he was gone. And that was the moment that dropped me to my core, absolutely to my core. And I couldn't do anything. I mean, at that point, grief does that to you, doesn't it? It really just centers you right down to the bare essentials of the stuff that you're dealing with inside you. And I didn't know why he died. I didn't know why it happened to me. Because in the world I lived in, I was told that if you were a good person and you took care of your body and you went to the doctor and you did what you were supposed to do, that you would have a healthy baby. And I did not come home with a live child. I went to have him cremated instead. And I brought him home in an urn. Now that was the beginning of my spiritual journey, because I couldn't go any further down the rung than I was. And for some of you, you're sitting there right now. And I will tell you that over the course of my life, all of the things that I have gone through, nothing could have prepared me for that. Not in a million years. But the beauty that came out of that, I don't think it could have been done any other way. About a year after I was doing some yoga and still heavily in grief, my grief lasted 4 years, and I was still very heavy in it. I was in the middle of yoga, and I just had leaned forward, and there were moments where I would just burst into tears and cry and cry and cry, and I still didn't understand any of it. You know, I asked, why? I mean, that's the question we always ask, right? Why? Why me? Why not the person down the street that treats their kids like crap, you know? I mean, why does it have to be me? I wanted a baby. And I got this really overwhelming feeling. I get goosebumps a little bit here. This feeling of this childlike light that said, Mommy, you're going to do amazing things. This is going to do something. There's something in this story. There's this way that you have to go now. And the only way you could get there is if I left you and put you in a space that made you go on that path. He was my angel. He was disguised as this being that grew in my womb, that I grew and created and then left me. But he was never to be in that physical form for long. I would not be able to give you what I can give you today if he had not died. And that's huge. And some of you might be going through that very same thing. You may have lost children, asking yourself, why in the world did that happen to me? It's because you need to progress. You absolutely have to elevate out of that sadness far higher, with more depth and love than you could have imagined. And we most often, if not 100% of the time, have to be dropped down to our point of no return. There. Now, this path on my spirituality continued to evolve and form. And I want to say that to you, that I began to piece together, as I first was learning from Eckhart Tolle, and he was literally saving my life in coming into presence and literally breathing through the situation. Because my marriage had become abusive, I was still going through grief, and I had just gotten newly pregnant with my daughter. We were living in an RV in California with no money. And I needed a miracle. And Eckhart was speaking to me to stay in presence and really ascend. And I kept doing his work. And I kept doing his work. And eventually I blossomed right into the late Master Charles Cannon. And he mentored me. And one of the first things he said to me is, you have got to learn to, love the body that you're in. And he said, people get past this point because they think, I love myself. I'm pretty good with it. I'm all right with it. Can we get on to the things that matter the most? And he said, hold on. There's the trap. If you cannot learn to love this and understand that this is your temple, it's a vehicle, take good care of it, but it doesn't identify you, what you have inside you remains the same. And I didn't understand that until I got older and I started to realize that the person who was 15 was still me, just with, less experience and less wisdom as we come through our time. And I will say that what I found from my spiritual teachers, I learned from Neil Donald Walsh, Eckhart Tolle, Muhuji Baba, and Ram Dass. I love all of them, and I remember sitting and just gathering this stuff, these things, these processes, and I said, there really is a system to this. I don't know why people say there isn't. There's a system to this, a model of how you live when you want to be accelerated in your consciousness, when you want to be evolved spiritually. And they're doing it, okay? They're doing it. Some have challenges with their diet. No one's perfect. But the elements of what they're doing are 100% the same. I could recognize when Buddhi says, you know, I look in the mirror, I don't just look in the mirror, I have to look in the mirror and reflect on what's going on in here. Always mirror work, because he knows what it's for. I see. Who do I see back looking at me? Who am I choosing to be right now in the moment? And what are those voices that are going on in my mind, keeping me up, keeping me running all the time? This is a small fragment of my life, a huge one, an impactful one, the one that set me on the journey to spiritual growth. It couldn't have happened any other way. I'm sure I was way too stubborn, and the Creator said, well, no, we're going to have to intervene, and so we're going to send you this baby who's going to end up being your angel. Now, all things come full circle. I bet you've heard that, right? And it's true, they do. For in my earlier years, long before I met my husband, I was in a very abusive childhood. And that childhood, the memory of how those things started for me around age 2 when my father left me with my mother, who was mentally unstable, very narcissistic and abusive. And she married my stepfather when I was 4. And during that time, it didn't take very long to figure out that things had gone very sour very fast. And so I was witness to a lot of beatings on my mother, which were followed by beatings by me and my sister. And my sister being a year and a half younger than me, I felt like I always needed to protect her. So I didn't have much of a childhood, understand? I was always traumatized. I could not sleep. At any given time, my stepfather would come in and pull us out of the bed and beat us, and I'd have no idea why. There were drugs and alcohol, there was theft in the house, and my identification with what a man should be was like, whoa, I don't want any of that. Who's this? And I couldn't get back to my father. I was told he was dead till I was 15. And then my mother says, well, you're going to go live with your dad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, scare the hell out of a teenager, really. But out of this darkness, I kept pleading. There was something inside me that said, this isn't right. This isn't the way things are. And I remember walking to my mother and just telling her, and I was just a 4-year-old little girl, and I said, Mom, I want you to give me back to my real parents. I know there was a mistake. You're not my real mommy. I really said that to her. She slapped the hell out of me. I really said that to her. I was so sure that she was so awful that I could not have been born to her because I knew love. I knew love, I knew beauty, I knew music, I knew reading, I knew how to cuddle my toys. I did not understand violence. And I prayed. I prayed because my mother told me that there was a God that would save me from my sins and all of my anger and all of my feelings. And I prayed and I asked that God, why don't you save me? I can't get out of here. I'm just a kid. Why don't you take me? Why don't you just take me when he hits me? Why don't you just take me then and take me into your arms of grace? And it never happened. And so I developed a really interesting relationship with God, who I was told was a man who didn't need a wife and favored boys over girls. And I know that might be hard for some of you to hear, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit here and sugarcoat shit for you, okay? I mean, your time's up. It's done. It's done. You wake up every morning and you're like, what's it for? And that's because you're hunting and grasping to try to find everything. But let me get back to what was going on here so you can understand how all of these things come together, okay? So as things got progressively worse, we moved every single year. So I didn't have a home to call my home ever. Every year we were evicted. and I couldn't find my footing no matter what. And on my 9th year, we ended up getting into a place I called the mansion because it had 2 stories. There was a lower space, it was quite big, and a whole upper apartment on the very top end. And now, for a small time, my mother had let me go to a babysitter who had a big case of the Pop Symphony Orchestra. Not my favorite, but hey, when you're a little kid, it's like an amazing gift. There were so many records in it back when we had records. I'm dating myself. Okay, so I had a little record player that played big records and little records, and it was like blue and white checkered, and I brought it upstairs. And I had a little palette of lip gloss that I brought upstairs, and I'm 9 years old, and I'm thinking, oh, I just want to break from all the screaming and the yelling and the holes punched in the walls and all of the craziness. And I went up there and I found, I think the people that had been there left it before, a long blue, like chiffon, but heavier, type of blue material. It was a curtain. So it was like a blue sheer curtain. And it was longer than my arms, because I'm 9. It was longer than my arms. I loved it. I could turn it sideways, and I could play with this thing, and I could run. And I'd put that music on as loud as I could. And I'd fall into a space where I was dancing some other place out of where I was in the moment. And there came a time where it stopped being so hard to do the moves. And something else happened. There was peace. And for a little girl that's 9 years old, it feels like God betrayed her because he didn't take her. The father left. And the mother, we won't even go there. Okay, many of you have one of those. Felt so helpless. I had a moment of strength, and it became my go-to every time I was overwhelmed and couldn't take the heat. That's where my dance really started, because I believe honestly that a dancer isn't created, a dancer is born. Like anybody who has a natural talent, you were born with that talent. And I never thought I had to be the greatest, I just knew it was inside my soul. And that's the trademark of any artist, is does it live inside your soul? And ooh, I might be getting eaten by mosquitoes a little bit here, but that is okay. It is worth it to get this information out to you. So I want to tell you that the years progressed, and they didn't get much better. I was in foster home by the age of 12, and again at the age of 14. By the time I was 17, I was homeless. I ran over the Alabama state line with a man I barely knew to escape a facility that my mother put me in for severe depression. Go figure. Who wouldn't be depressed and suicidal living in a situation like that for about 17 years? Okay? And I ran for my life with a man I hardly knew. And so that my mother couldn't get me back, I married that man that I barely knew. And I got raped. And I got pregnant with my first son. And regardless of what happened with that man, I was elated to have my baby. Because in my mind, I wanted to be loved. And I was about to create a life that would love me because I knew I could love back. That was a given. Love, I know that one. I knew that one a long time ago. And when my baby was born, another big giant obstacle came into my life, a big, huge challenge. Some of you have gone through this too. I found him to be a pedophile. The man I married had hidden magazines, videos, and all kind of other paraphernalia that didn't let me know until my baby was 3 months old that I had married a pedophile. And now I was in danger. My baby was in danger, and I didn't know what to do. So we drove back over the Georgia line where I was born, and I left with my baby into another relationship with a man I barely knew. Some of this may sound a little extreme, but when you are in a situation where you're desperate, ladies, you do desperate things, don't you? And when you're in a position to highly protect, you do anything at all costs to protect your babies, even when they question your morals, don't you? And so that was the position I was in. And I was with a guy who had a big addiction to pornography. Well, now this poses another challenge because no woman ever, anywhere, can measure up to the unrealistic. And at 19 years of age, I had it everywhere around me, and I will tell you, I couldn't fit into any one of those. I could not for the life of me make my little organic self as beautiful and flawless as the women that he needed for his pleasure. And so my ego was like, rah! And my self-confidence was going, woo. But there was a gem in this one too. Recognize what's happening in your life story here, okay? The gem in that was that he also liked to frequent the strip clubs. I had my own ideas about strip clubs from what I had been told. They're most of the same ones that you share, I'm sure, that they're full of home wreckers and loose women and bad mothers and drunk alcoholics, and some of that is really true, I'm going to tell you, but not all of us were there, all right? So I hear him. I hear him talking about this one girl. He really likes this one girl. And I'm 19 and I'm going, oh my gosh, how am I going to compare with this? I mean, she must be gorgeous. She works at this club. He gives her her money. I mean, it must be amazing. What the hell she got that I don't? And I started to just get this really wild idea. Maybe if I practiced, I might be able to do it too. And so at the time, it was like a challenge or a dare for me to see if I could do it. I had no idea how scared I was going to be and how transformed I was going to be in the process. Okay? So for 3 months, I stand in front of a mirror that you sit on the back of your door. It's about this long, yay wide. You even, you extend your arms. You can't see it. It cuts it half off, so you're constantly kind of, how do I look, right? So I did that. That's all I had. And I didn't tell him what I was up to. And he kept showering more and more and more of this stuff in front of me, and it just kept putting, it was the pressure, you know what I'm saying? Just heat and pressure. Heat, you been there? Hot and pressure, and I don't know, I feel like I'm going to explode. What are you doing to me? And I took that and I converted it into my dance. And then I did something absolutely insane. I didn't decide to go to a small club and try to get in and say, well, No. I had to go to the big one. I had to do it right from the first time, and that was my motive. And so her club was actually a second-class club to the one I was going to, and I guess that was my ego one-up, see? But it was my source soul going, that's the place you need to be, baby. See what I mean? So I go there my first day, and I'm looking amazing. I've taken 3 hours to get ready. You know how that is. Your hair, your nails, everything, okay? And I get there, and I stand out in front of the parking lot, and there's a line of women that look like they fell out of every one of those magazines. I'm not kidding. And my jaw dropped. I went, there's no way. Little scared organic me. I collapsed, and I got back in my car, and I cried all the way home. All the way home, knowing I was miserable in this relationship. I wanted to get out, and I wanted my freedom, and I needed my independence. And I had a child I needed to care for, and I would do anything for him. Now, I love dancing. That's been something that's stayed with me for a long time. And I feel, whether you believe it or not, it's been inside me for many generations, because I think, and I really understand to my best ability, talents that are birthed in our life don't just happen in this lifetime. Seems like we've taken lifetimes to really brushstroke and refine our talents. And we get here, we go, God, I feel like I've done this before somewhere. And that was my feeling for sure. So I get there, get home, and I go, I just cry, I can't go to sleep. And I go, I have to go back tomorrow. I mean, I got another chance. There's another window. I've got 2 days, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I had made my own costumes, and I'll tell you, I don't sew. I always poke myself with a needle, but I made these beautiful costumes, and they had my power in them, see? They had my power and probably a few drops of my blood as well. But I made them, and then I drove back. This time, I got in that line. And I can't tell you how nervous I was. I'm sure you can imagine. I was put on the stage with 5 other women. Could have been 6, but I do remember 5. And it's kind of lit in there, and the stages are lit, which is nice. And all I have are judges. Okay, and there's a panel of judges, and in 3 songs, you need to do it. Your first song, you need to keep all your clothes on, because I was taught very high class, okay? That kind of went on the wayside down the road, but that's another story, all right? So, I was taught you keep everything on, you to do the song. Second song, you disrobe. Very nice, we want to see the strip tease. Third song, you're completely naked. And we want to see how you do this and interact with the audience, okay? There were no legs open and grinding with the bottoms off and stuff. This is just way dainty, like super elegant stuff, okay? Really high class. And I thought, oh dear God. Please take over now. Because I don't think I can do this, right? I'm only 19 and these girls are showstoppers. They already know what they're doing. They come in here, they're ready for a job, honey. They've already been here. I am so new. I'm so new. And I don't get called first, and I'm okay with that. I expect it. Then I don't get called second, and I'm like, I'm all right with that too, but I get called third, and I about jump out of my freaking skin. I can't even believe it. I can't believe it, okay? Third, and I'm an amateur, and I'm actually looking around, and I get, you don't say it, but you're like, yeah. So I go home. And I tell my boyfriend the great news, I've got my job, I've landed my job in a place, it's really sweet, and he doesn't care much for it. Yeah. And so I didn't care much for his response, see? But what ended up happening, what ended up happening was I needed to leave. So I started to accumulate money, but I was having a difficult time because he wasn't willing to play anymore. Ladies, you understanding this? He wasn't willing to play once I had some power, right? And so he said, no, I'm not going to watch your son. You got to go find a babysitter. And I said, holy crap, how am I supposed to find a babysitter between these hours and this hour? See, because I want to tell you, when you first start out, usually get on the day shift because these are the girls that are still organic, and then they leave the slots open for the girls that have had boob work and butt work and everything and face plastic stuff going on for the guys who pay more money. So you already get like the shame button already put on, Sorry, you only get this schedule because of the way you look. If you get your implants and stuff, we'll put you on swing shift, or we'll put you out there on, night shift where all the money making is. So it's a horrible thing, really, how they do it, but that's the way they play the game. So I was thinking, I had to start there, but I was like, I need to get to that night shift because I need the money, right? So I get on it, and now I have no babysitter. And I am trying so hard. And I end up calling the child care services and saying, hey, I need to get out of my home. And I had a lady come in and say, I need to get out of my home. I have a child. I have a job here. And I said, I need a place to go. She said, I don't have one. I said, I need something, a shelter. We don't have anything. Nothing? Well, we have one more option. Now, before I tell you why I made this decision, I need to let you know what happened previously, nights before. I had an epic fight with my boyfriend. And he took a loaded rifle and stuck it to my chest. And he was going to pull that damn thing. And I screamed for help. And nobody did anything. And I knew I was totally alone. And having known that, I knew my son was in danger, and so was I. And she had no place for me to go. I couldn't get a dang apartment, because every time I would tell somebody I worked for an exotic club, they go, sorry, you don't have a check stub. There's no way we can prove how much money you make, so we can't give you an apartment. It was absolutely horrible. And this is the kind of crap that you would go through. I'm letting you know, ladies, is that the world crams things into a certain way, and it makes it absolutely impossible for you to wiggle. I would go to work. I made money. Yes, I hustled. I made tips, but there was no way for me to really show. So she says to me, this caseworker, I can take him till you can get on your feet, and then you can come get him back. And I'm thinking rationally, okay. What I didn't count on was his presence being gone, that his laughter not being there, his smell, that the hours by which I cared for him or had to rock him or love him or give him his bath. He was gone, gone, gone. And I was in the middle of a war zone trying to get out. And I left him and jumped into another relationship. Sound familiar? Just need to feel love. Just need to be accepted. Just need to know that I matter. It's got to come from somebody else. Please tell me. Tell me you hear me. And the silence of not having my son put me straight into drugs and alcohol. Because I had PTSD, although I didn't know that at the time. Going on in my head 24/7. Nobody knew how to cure that either. Okay, they just want to stick me in antidepressants, which weren't working at all. Had a long list of those going, hey, what is this? No, not touching it. And then I had the grief, the shame, and the guilt of having let my son go, not being able, as a what I thought was a strong-minded woman, to be able to care for my child. And I really had some self-hate issues. And nonetheless, I had this need, this desire. Was like, I'm going to make that money. I'm going to get that house. I'm going to get my baby back. And I couldn't manage to do it. I kept falling apart. I was the I would go to a club, and I'll tell you what happens in a club if you want to know. See? Men go crazy, but they go crazy for very specific things. You think that women go in there and they're like, oh, how I love men. They might have gone in there thinking they love men, but it only takes a couple of weeks to figure out what's really going on. And guilt and shame are riddled inside of exotic clubs. You are picked apart. You are denied money. You even owe money out after you've shown all your goods for the day. Okay? It's a hard life. You dance till your feet bleed. Your body hurts. I drank shots to stop the pain in my hips, in my back, in my feet that were swollen. We girls could barely walk after we take our shoes off. Don't even know what's going on there because we all make it look so pretty, don't we? That's the point. We made it look, we created a world that wasn't real. And men go there and they go, this is the world that's real, and I'm going to take it home and I'm going to expect my girl to be like, ooh, I want you to be like her. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. We painted our bodies in the back. We covered up every line. We did our makeup specifically for that kind of light. It wasn't real. Wasn't real. Most of those people would think us unrecognizable if they saw us on the street with a ball cap. Okay? So what happened? I kept dancing, but I lost my kid. His dad was coming to find him, to kill him, and he was coming after me. So I spoke to the foster mother that had my son, and she said, I can adopt him, but we got to go into hiding to protect him, which means I got to change his name. How am I going to find him? I'm always going to make sure that he knows you're his real mother. Okay. And so it was. I signed the paper, and I gave him, and I didn't do so good. Because I didn't understand how bad shame and grief can get into your soul and mess everything up. I ended up homeless for 5 years. I lived out of hotel rooms. I would walk to work, walk back to the hotel room, eat fast food, and try to survive taking an antidepressant and getting through my own addictions and this sorrow of not knowing what the hell it was all for. I loved dancing, but it was so hard to do it in a place where people only looked at you through like a spyglass, like, ooh, I see all your flaws, and it was tough to walk into a place like that and know it, right? So I ended up in another relationship, and I got raped and got pregnant and had my second son. Well, this was getting really ridiculous. I mean, I could already see a pattern, but I didn't know how to break it. okay? And I would be nice, and I'd be great, and I'd be loving, and I'd work on the marriage, and I'd call the marriage therapist, and we would go to therapy, and it wouldn't work. Because what was going on deep down in here, it just couldn't get addressed. It couldn't get seen. It was literally covered up, okay? We are veiled and in illusion. We cannot see until we hit a space that is so painful that we must awaken out of it. I've taken work from Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle. Both of them hit the bottom. They'll tell you that. I hit the bottom. Mooji even said, I hit the bottom because things went whee, and all of a sudden it happened for him. He had an insightful guru to do that. A lot of us don't. We have this slow burn, this kensho, except now we're like over it. I don't want to struggle through my spiritual awakening process. You don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. But I was doing that. Oh God, was I doing that. I was juggling everything because the man that I was with now was a narcissist and he was bipolar and didn't take his medication. If you know what that's like, people are up and down because they can't regulate their emotions fast enough to get centered, okay? They're thrown off their balance too quickly. And so I had to take full care of my baby who ended up having Asperger's syndrome. So he only slept for about 4 hours a night. I was exhausted. There was no way I was going to be able to work. And so we were on food assistance and government assistance, which was another stab at me because I felt, what kind of mother does this, right? She can't get her shit together, now she has to be on food stamps. It happens! And he was abusive too. Dang it. Another one. I got to get out of this one. Hey everybody, as you can see, the scenery's changed. I was getting eaten up by black flies, so I had to pack up everything and run back to my studio. So I'm going to go ahead and finish shooting out the rest of this stuff for you because it's really important to me that you really know what's going on, okay? So as you're listening to my life unfold, I want you to see what's happening in your own life, how things are rolling over to try to show you patterns, to try to show you things to work on. Now, I already knew my patterns. My second husband turned out to be abusive. I had an autistic little baby, and I needed to leave yet another abusive relationship. Now, this must have been the point where some beautiful spiritual guide or some kind of intervention occurred in my life. Because I, through going out and dancing just in clubs with my friends, actually ended up meeting my very, very best friend. And he totally blew my mind. He was dancing around and I could tell he had some experience and I was enamored, okay? I'm like, there's another dancer here somewhere. I'm like, God, it's so cool. So we ended up talking and we had a bond. I know some of you out there have had that. We had a bond in our soul to each other. And I sat down and I talked to him and I said, look, this is my situation here. I'm in a relationship. I'm trying to work. I'm struggling with it. I've got the grandmother who can watch the baby some of the time, but this is just too much for me. My child has Asperger's syndrome. I need to get away from this guy who's really hurting me. And my best friend looked at me and he goes, just pack your stuff and I'll put you in. We'll find a space for you. We'll fit you in. I've got 2 people that live, that are roommates, but that's not a problem. I want to get you to safety. Now, I'd never had that done in my life without somebody needing to take advantage of me in some form. And he didn't ask for anything. In fact, when I got there, he said, I want you to take some time and just recover. You've been through a lot. And just heal. And don't worry about work. Don't worry about money. I'll take care of you. That hadn't happened either. But I was extremely grateful. But I was unable to really understand and appreciate it for what it was worth. And in all of this stuff that was coming up, because I had time to come out of a very volatile place. Listen to this, ladies. I had time to come out of a volatile place. I got into a good space. I thought it was all going to go away. Because that's what they tell you, right? You just have to leave one bad environment, get into a good environment, and you'll be okay. Bullshit. I got into this situation and now it was great. I could relax, I could think, I could breathe, and oh my God, here it comes. The guilt trips, the shaming. Why are you doing this? Shouldn't you be out working? Get your crap together. Who do you think you are? What are you doing this to him? You need to be a mother. Come on. You're smarter than this. You're better than this. You know more than this. You said that you were going to be amazing. Do something with your life. And I started drinking again. And my best friend was holding on, caring for me, helping me as I'm puking my brains out. I'm crying to him. I'm gone for days. I should have been dead. And I came up to him one last time. Things were so hard. I'm saying I couldn't find a way out. You understand? I was trying everything they gave me. I was seeing therapists. I was taking their dang medication. I was doing all the stuff they said, and it was not helping me. I was lost. And in that time where I had been drinking, I took strychnine. And I laid there and I had this really big calling. I have to say goodbye to my best friend. I can't just do this and just bail out on him and then I'm dead and I'm gone. So I drive myself back. And I get to inside and I start to feel it. I start to feel tense. My muscles are starting to contract. He calls an ambulance immediately. I'm wheeled out of there on one of the boards. My head has to be held down. I'm convulsing and I'm going to die. And I get to the hospital and they make me drink all this charcoal stuff and push it out and get it out. And I'm literally only covered by curtains, understand? There's no room. I don't have a room in there. You could move the curtain and see everything going on in my space. You know, it was extreme. They put me, of course, in a psych ward because I tried to take my life. And my best friend sat across from me and he said, I love you, I can't do it anymore. And you know, in my heart, I was saying the same thing. I love you and I can't do this anymore either. I love me and I can't do it anymore. I don't know what to do. They just pump me full of drugs. They just tell me it's going to be okay to go see another therapist. Nothing's working. But I told him I was committed to change. And I quit drinking. And I quit doing all the drugs. And I thought everything was good. But I had no idea that stuff lives inside your body. So all those emotions that came from my childhood, being abused, seeing all that torture, having to deal with the loss, and having to deal with the anger, and having to deal with the conformity, and having to deal with the rage, it was cycling through my organs, and it was killing me. So I quit drinking, and I quit using drugs, but I was getting sicker. My nails turn yellow, my eyes turn yellow, my skin was easily bruised, I felt lethargic, often couldn't breathe, was hunched over, I had to use a cane to prop me up. I was in pain all the time. Doctors were like, we don't know what to do with you, take another pill. To hell with you and your pills. Nothing against doctors, seriously, there's some great ones out there. But please don't shove a pill down my throat and tell me it's a cure. I ended up seeing an iridologist and she said to me, darling, I don't know what's going on with you because they look in your eyes and they can tell what's going on with each part of your organ by what's going on in your eyes. You believe that? It's amazing. And she said, your organs are failing you. As she put me on all of this organic, deeply holistic stuff, I had to drink asparagus root tea. If you ever had to drink that, it had to be shipped from China. And it tastes horrible. There's nothing in the world that honey won't make it better. Sugar, which I didn't eat, no sweetener, nothing, made it any better. It was gross, okay? And slippery elm bark and ginger, and I was just consuming all of this stuff to kickstart my body again, get my body moving. She says, you've just been wiped out. And I remember going to my doctor and saying, is there anything you can do, you know? And they just, no, this is the best we got. So I moved over and I slowly started to get better. But I had a lot of pain, I still did. And I knew I loved to dance. But I'll tell you, I had to leave that world behind. And I thought I had to leave the world of the exotic dance behind because it was shaming and terrible. Because what they were doing now did not fit my artistic expression. I'm just going to put it that way, okay? So in the time, remember when I said I was dancing, we're very, you know, this body is our moneymaker. And so we were going to present it elegantly and show this as we got an exchange. This time all bets were off. Women showed whatever they wanted to for a buck or two, more than they should have showed. They were essentially giving away the treasure for little to nothing, which left the rest of us going, I don't want to just show this for no money. I mean, you literally, and the stuff that you're doing, baby, you should just be paid in a magazine to show that. Don't do it on a stage. Get a business manager, okay, if that's where you want to go. I had to leave because it was going against even my morals of the expression of my dance, understand? Not that I see anything but beauty in the body. I can see it more than people who see through the lens of you ought to be. You know, I see with an artist's eye, I go, ah. I see that with men and women, I'm just like, you know, wow. I'm awed by it, okay? So there's nothing wrong there. But how we were starting to totally lose ourselves in this space where men were like, I want more. And we were like, I'm desperate, I gotta feed my kids, take it. We were downsizing down to their, and you know, they were taking full advantage of it. And I said, I'm walking. But I missed my dance. And while I was in New Orleans, there was a little bit of something going around town. It was called belly dance. And I went, what is that? Isn't that something kind of erotic over the Orient? And I, again, had that shame kind of wrecked in there with oh, I got to separate the world. I don't want people to think I'm that person anymore. I need to do something else. Well, I ended up I started out with a videotape just in my living room, moving around to see, hey, how does this feel? And what I found was there were things that I also put in. Okay, I won't lie to you because I created a whole technique to open my body so I could move. I'm not going to tell you that I just started belly dance and everything was fine. That wouldn't be right. Okay, I actually created some stretches that started to open my body very subtly because my body was inflamed with fibromyalgia and it hurt to move. And those of you who had that totally understand. Okay, so when I got into this movement, it was natural. I was like, well, I did some of this before at exotic dancing. In fact, there was so much of a similarity. I went, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And as I got better, my best friend said, I'm ready to invest in you. And from there, my belly dancing career, my business, hit it. I started to travel all over America, taking workshops, performing. I performed for Suhaila and Jamila, the godmother, a belly dancer herself. I was an absolute blessing while she was alive on this planet, and I'm God grateful for that. And I mean, I did it. I got out there. I learned, and I ate it up. And guess what? I wasn't sick anymore. And I mean, I wanted to take this to the doctors, and you know what they said? Door closed in the face. I went, okay. Well, you know, I can't help that. But I could do something with you. I could definitely do that. So on this journey, I began to talk to doctors that were in Egypt. I began to listen to the Egyptian people that came to talk about their country. I learned from so many people that had diversity. Amel Tafsut works really from, you know, the northern Africa area, and she has a colorful expansion of all of these dances that are Moroccan and Berber and Bedouin. And I went to the Egyptian side where there's rock sharki, and then this really mixed up what we're going to call it rebellious artistic stuff of the tribal Gothic era that came up and ended up fusing into this flair of this deve, you know, this goddess dance, okay? So what I started to learn over time, I became more open and able, I began to receive more. At that time, I became a Reiki master. I got my certification as a personal trainer. I began teaching Pilates and yoga in studios. I started dance classes. I was doing all of this stuff, which was really amazing. And I was learning as I was going along that this dance was so ancient and it had something in there that people weren't really looking at. They really weren't looking at the actual diamond inside of these gorgeous movements. Now the diamond is, each of those movements circulates chi, energy through the body, your channels, your whole body is a matrix of energy. I bet you've heard that before. And in Chinese medicine, they open up the gateways of the spine and all of these meridians, and every single one of those movements we were doing, including the ones in exotic dance, were opening up channels of chi, clearing blocks in the chakras. Can you believe this? This dance was created to heal your body and your soul. When I had mentioned this, when I was in Miami, I mentioned this to one of those young girls. I said, God, this dance is amazing. It just sets my soul on fire. And she goes, no, it's just sexy. It's that too. It's that too, but I didn't want to think about it like that. I wanted to think about it as something that was whole and pure and beautiful, because I had shame attached to that part too. See what I'm saying? And guess what? You can't live your life with that kind of shame and have the dynamic of a sensual power that is naturally inside you. I was in a conflict. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit here, okay? We're going to jump ahead. Guess what I do again? I bet you can guess. I get into another relationship, and guess what? It's like all the others. Except this time I lose all my dancing stuff. I lose all the memorable stuff that I have from my lost son. And I lost my house, and I have my life taken from me, nearly. So, person who had said that he loved me so much was trying to take my life, and I couldn't believe that. Everything fell apart. Everything hit the floor. Boom. Maybe first it happened with my son, then it happened again. Except this time the dynamic was different. The first time when my angel baby said, Mama, you must do this. Your experiences are going to help people because you've been able to come out of this. You created systems, Mama. You need to do this. And you know what? You're not going to go on the path till I drop you on the floor. But know that my wings are around you. This time, when I hit the floor, I found Sheila Kelly. Now, for those of you who don't know Sheila Kelly, she is the S Factor woman. And she works with shame, with women who really need to embrace their sexuality, because my sexuality was suppressed, compressed, and depressed. All right? I was told, don't touch that part of you. That's your dirty, your God favors men and boys, and women, no. We just don't do that. The boys are supposed to just know what to do when they touch you, when you get married, because you never touch yourself before you get married, right? So I had all of that going on. And I thought, I don't know what to do with this. I mean, I truly love feeling sensuous, and I know there's a power in there, and I feel there's a goddess energy in there, which nobody talks about. That goddess is foo-foo stuff. It's real. It was taken out. It was deliberately removed because the power in it was huge. I want you to understand something. In nature, every species in nature that has a primarily dominant female works, is more peaceful. Their first space of addressing conflict is through love, not through war. So we can take a big look at that. That can be a big reality for us. If we ask, how does it work? Well, look at nature. Well, it works in nature, right? So the goddess has been taken out. Your power has been removed. You've been told how to dress, how to act. Should you have a fry, or should you have a, or should you act a certain way, flip your hair? It gets crazy, doesn't it? Who are you supposed to be when you want to be you? You can't even be you. That's not acceptable. Oh my God, your boobs are not big enough. You know, who, what? So here I find this, and she says, oh no, baby. You don't get to hide behind that shame anymore. You get to embrace it. I was like, Oh God. How do I do that? You get in there, and all that stuff that was stuck in there from pain, and that I want to feel so good in my skin, and I want to believe that I'm enough, and I need to matter, and there's somebody in this body that means something. I got back into the exotic world, and I was like, my own flair, my own style, my own bliss. This time I decided to marry everything together. See, remember what I learned? I was already dipping into holistic medicine. I was already preparing for this moment by having my certifications in the fitness arena. I was already preparing myself for this very time when I could do something incredible with this. I was going to take my years of being a headliner. I was going to take my years of being a belly dance fusion dancer, and I was going to marry them inside an energy work that brought them to life, because that's the real work, ladies. They were never separated. If you can do a little bit of research in the Devadasi and the temples and know what was going on, that they were like love goddesses. Now, people would frown upon those things today. They had to close it down because there was too much power going on in there. Understand? So when I decided to put these things together, I said, well, I ain't gonna stop there. Why don't we just merge it all? So you have the opportunity to work with me. You can start smaller, but it's still incredibly powerful. That smaller thing was where if you want to do some classes with me, don't do them if you're scared of change. If you're really happy where you're at and you think, life is great, I don't need any change, I could just do this, don't take my class, because the class is transformational. You will come in it feeling a certain way, have an intuition, and come with a way to we're going to birth it out of you, and you're going to walk out different. Understand? And every single time you do that, you'll come more into awareness. You'll be able to flush the shame and the guilt out of the body and rebirth something that is yours, because the guilt and shame doesn't belong to you. Understand? So that's one small model that we can do. And for those of you ready to just take it, not waste no more time. You don't want to go to any more people, any more workshops, do any more of your crap, so you can get this and that and that and that, and hopefully it'll all come together. You can do one thing with me. Because all that time that I took, I was paying attention. I ended up getting 23 certifications. That's not to brag, it's to show you that I mean my shit. Okay? But I'm serious. And I'm telling you, there's a process to awakening. And in the seed of that, for us women, I hold the dance. Because this is the way we get it out. Understand, it's a spin of the universe. The other stuff that we're doing is recalibrating the mind. We need to dump the stuff that doesn't work. The stuff that never worked. The stuff won't work for you today. I promise you, in 10 years, you'll be banging your head against the wall going, why didn't I just do it? Or you'll be going to class to class to class to try to figure it out. Again, you'll be like, why did I just do the one thing? Oh my God, Bella said it's all right here in the model. The choice is yours. But I'm just going to caution you, big caution right here. I want you to hear this. This is not for wimps. This is accelerated. I can walk you through 12 or 24 weeks, but either way, this is accelerated, which means you change. Boom. End of story. You're not the same person you went in. You will come out different. The whole world is going to look different to you. Your power is going to be different. Your ability to bend reality, yes, I said that, will be different. You get what I'm throwing at you? Real magic? We could call it that. One time, that was accepted. King Solomon was practicing real magic. Except he was messing around with dark forces, and we're not doing none of that, okay? We're going to keep it clean and light and powerful. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you your next steps, okay? Because a lot of people don't. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to have an email right here. And if you're serious about changing your life, really done with the old way, I want you to send me a message and say, I'm in. I'm ready. Okay? There'll be additional link down there too, in case you don't want to scribble it out. It's all good. That you can contact. And listen, I'm only making this email for people that want it. Don't drop in and go, hi, you're so cute, I want to date you. Don't do it, all right? Please. This is for people who are done with the old way, have tried it, beat their head against the wall, and I want to tell you, you should absolutely, no matter who you learn from, ask them the questions. Have you experienced any of this? I don't want you to go to somebody to get healing if you're a drug addict and they never took a drug. I don't want you to go to somebody and say, I want to learn how to come out of my shame if they have no clue how to do that and didn't do it themselves. Okay, you need to have somebody who's walked in your moccasins for a few miles, understand? And I do know what it's like to be raped and stabbed. I do know what it's like to be homeless. I do know what it's like to go hungry. I do know what it's like to have children and not be able to save them. To feel like you couldn't save them. I know what it's like to lose it. To be so depressed. To be so helpless. To be so needy and wanting that you'll grasp and cling to anything. I don't want any of you to ever make another choice in your life that you didn't back with 100% of your soul. And when you do that, there are no more bad relationships. You own your power. Get it? I'm willing to work with you if you are willing to give yourself that blessing. Because you're only going to have to do this one time. And this whole space will change for you. Your whole rhythm of life will change. And the way that you deal with issues that come up, because they will continue, sweethearts, guess what? That's what it does. You will know how to handle it before it handles you. So if you're ready, I want you to join me. I want you to give me a heck yeah, I'm in, I'm 100%, I'm ready, I'm committed, let's do this, anything. And what I'm going to do after that, as soon as I get your email, I'm going to contact you. We're going to set up a free coaching session via Zoom so we can talk to each other. And we can figure out what it is you're looking for, because that's what I want to know. I want to deliver what you need, understand? Okay. Having had this grand, thank you for listening, story, and telling you, I needed you to know. I'm not one of those people out there that's saying, I get it, just throw a dog a bone here you go, it'll all be fine. And then you go, but it's not. But it's not. This world is in a critical place right now. You know it. And the power of a woman, I'm going to say, needs to rise. She needs to be seen as more than an object of sex or desire, but as something powerful, courageous, nurturing, intuitive, insightful, intelligent, loving, beautiful, graceful. We can worship a woman. We can worship each other. We need to stop putting each other down and stop creating a God that looks down on women, because that one ain't true. You will go on your journey enough to find that one out. I promise you. Go far enough in your journey to find out that God has no sex and lives in both. All right? Because this is the great mystery. And you're about to find out. I love you, beautiful women, beautiful gentlemen. If you stayed around, super good. You're invited as well. I love all of you. I want you to take action today. Don't sit around. I want you to do it today. Send me that email, okay? Love and light. This is Dr. Bella Jade Michaels saying, move your caboose. Love you.